All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most important concepts in the world of data, the data lake. If you've ever heard that term thrown around and wondered why on earth companies are so obsessed with storing just massive amounts of raw data, well, you're in the right place. So let me start with a question for you. Think about all the data your company has. Is it more like a perfect, clean, highly filtered swimming pool? Or is it more like a sprawling, wild, kind of messy natural lake? Just keep that picture in your head because by the end of this, you'll see why that's a multi-million-dollar question. So where does this whole data lake idea even come from? Well, it often starts with a super common and, let's be honest, really frustrating problem. You've got this valuable data, say a bunch of application logs in a JSON format, and you try to load it into your traditional data warehouse. And bam, you get an error just like this. The system's just too rigid, It can't handle that messy real-world data. And fixing that? Oh, it's not cheap. Just rewriting the data pipeline to force those logs to fit could easily run you $50,000. And that's not even counting the 2 months of engineering time you just lost. That is a huge price to pay just to get your data in the door. But the headaches don't stop there. The next thing you know, your data science team comes knocking. They're trying to build a new AI model, and they need the raw, super granular data to do it, but this is the answer they get. Because the warehouse only stores the clean, summarized stuff, all that raw detail is just gone. And a huge competitive advantage might have just vanished with it. And here is the real shocker. Let's say, for compliance reasons, your legal team says you have to keep all user logs for 7 years. Okay, fair enough. But if you try to store just 1 petabyte of that data in a traditional data warehouse, get this, it would cost you over $3.3 million. I mean, for most companies, that's just completely out of the question. So clearly, a different way of thinking is needed. And that's where the data lake comes in. Think of it as this huge central place where you can dump vast amounts of raw data just as it is in its native format. The real magic here is a philosophy called schema-on-read. All that means is you don't have to force the structure on the data when you put it in. You figure all that out later when you're ready to actually use it. And just look at this cost difference. It's incredible. That same 7 years of compliance data that cost over $3 million in a warehouse, in a data lake, it's about $143,000. That's a 98% savings. It's an absolute game changer, and it's why data lakes have become so critical for basically every modern business. Okay, let's go back to our swimming pool analogy because it really helps. A data warehouse is like that pristine chlorinated pool. The water is filtered, it's treated, it's perfectly structured. It's safe, it's predictable, and business users can just jump right in and get answers. But it's really expensive to maintain, and you can't just go dumping a bucket of mud in there, right? No unstructured data allowed. The data lake, on the other hand, that's our huge natural lake. Rivers and streams, our raw data sources, can dump anything they want into it. Logs, images, videos, social media posts, you name it. It's incredibly cheap to maintain this massive body of water. But it's not for casual swimmers. You need some expertise, maybe a boat and some fishing gear, the right tools to really explore it and find anything valuable. So let's just put them side by side. The pool, our warehouse, has that clean, treated water and a predefined structure. That's what we call schema-on-read, meaning you define the structure before you ever put data in. The lake is the opposite. Raw, unfiltered water, a flexible schema, and it's cheap. And it uses schema-on-read, which again just means you apply a structure when you pull the data out. They're two totally different ways of thinking about data. So which one is better? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, here's the modern answer. You don't have to choose. In fact, you shouldn't choose. The most powerful, most effective data strategies today use both of them, working together. This powerful combo is called a lakehouse architecture, and it's actually pretty simple. Step 1, you just ingest all of your data. Structured, unstructured, doesn't matter. Step 2, you store absolutely everything super cheaply in the data lake. Step 3, you then copy only the cleaned up, curated, important data over to the high-performance data warehouse. And finally, step 4, different people in your company get to use the tool that's perfect for their job. And what this does is create this perfect division of labor. Your data scientists and engineers, the ones who need that raw, messy data for machine learning and deep exploration, they work directly with the flexible data lake using tools like Spark or Athena. Meanwhile, your business analysts, who need fast, reliable answers for their dashboards and reports, they query the super clean, structured data in the fast data warehouse with SQL. Everybody wins. Now, of course, data lakes aren't some magic solution. It is really easy to mess this up. And the number one most common pitfall is accidentally creating what's known as a data swamp. And it's exactly what it sounds like. A disorganized, undocumented, and ultimately useless mess of data that nobody can find anything in. So how do you keep your beautiful lake from turning into a nasty swamp? Honestly, it just comes down to basic organization. First, use a really clear folder structure. Something simple like a raw folder for data as it comes in, a processed folder for cleaned up data, and a curated folder for data that's ready for business reports. Second, partition your data logically, usually by date, year, month, and day. These two simple habits make all the difference. All right, mistake number 2. This one is a massive performance killer, the tiny file problem. This is what happens when your system is creating millions and millions of tiny little files instead of a few larger ones. Trying to query thousands of these little files can take forever, even if the total amount of data is actually pretty small. The solution here is actually pretty simple. Batch your data. Instead of writing every single record as its own little file, group them together into bigger chunks. The sweet spot is usually somewhere between 128 megabytes and 1 gigabyte per file. I'm telling you, this one change can make your queries run literally orders of magnitude faster. And the last common mistake? It's just plain old wasting money. You've already saved a ton by choosing a data lake in the first place, but believe it or not, you can optimize those costs even more if you're smart about it. Here's how you do it. You use automation. All the big cloud providers have these things called lifecycle policies that let you set simple rules. For example, you can say, after 90 days, automatically move this data to a cheaper infrequent access tier. Then, after 180 days, move it again to a super cheap deep archive tier, like Glacier, which can be up to 96% cheaper. You set the rule one time, and it just saves you money forever. It's fantastic. So let's just boil it all down. What's the big deal with data lakes? Well, it comes down to a few huge advantages. They are incredibly cost-efficient. They offer amazing flexibility for things like AI and machine learning. They can scale almost infinitely. And, maybe most importantly, they unlock all the value that's been hiding inside your raw data. So in the end, the future isn't about choosing the lake or the pool. It's about building the lakehouse, this unified system that gives you the amazing flexibility of a data lake combined with the blistering performance of a data warehouse. You really do get the best of both worlds. And that kind of leaves us with one final big question to think about. What valuable, game-changing insights are hiding in your company's raw data right now, just waiting for someone to find them? Thanks for joining me.